Hola a todos, Smart Monkeys. Bueno, pues estamos aquí ya después de hacía bastantes meses que no grabamos ningún vídeo. Hoy tenemos un vídeo con una pequeña entrevista a Prasaga con Jacob y nada, la verdad es que ha contestado a todas las preguntas que se hicieron en la comunidad y algunas más. Ha sido bastante directo, es un vídeo un poquito largo, unos 40 minutos y bueno, nada, simplemente deciros que lo había grabado muy bien, muy guapo, él a un lado, yo al otro, un 4K, todo perfecto y no se ha grabado, soy muy torpe y no se ha grabado como se tendría que haber hecho. Entonces el vídeo que vais a ver ahora es el que ha grabado directamente él, la calidad no es la mejor del vídeo, pero el contenido es el mismo. Entonces nada, os dejo aquí con el vídeo que lo veáis. Si tenéis alguna cosa lo comentamos en la comunidad y ya sabéis, por lo menos darle like al vídeo, que ya sabéis que me cuesta bastante grabarlos. Hi, hello, Jacob. How are you?
Doing well. How are you? Thank you for having me on today, Jose.
No worries, man. It's always a pleasure to speak with a big project, and as you know, here in the Spanish community, there's a lot of hype for Prasaga. So we are always happy to know more about you and how the project is evolving. So,
Of course.
So during the last week, I was speaking with the guys in the community. I asked them to prepare some questions. There was a lot of people interested to know what's going on. So if you don't mind, I will give you a couple of questions, and you can give us your answers.
Perfect.
Yeah. First of all, can you explain a bit? Who are you? What do you do in Prasaga?
Yeah, so my name is Jacob Holdman. I am director of token relations. So I'm handling most of our current token sale. Our private round had a little bit to do with our friends and family round as well. Additionally, working for a startup, you wear many hats. So I'm doing a lot of the work and kind of taking on the load for exchange listings and such like that, as well as kind of market maker, all kind of token related stuff. And then also just general business development, working with our chief alliance officer, Nicole, and our chief product officer, Rich, in order to go out and find those projects that, are strong foundational projects that we want to include in the Prasaga ecosystem here to help really build it out.
Yeah, as you said, always in a startup, you have to wear many hats and do a lot of different things. That this is something which is really interesting at the same time. So
yep.
Good man. Can you tell us something? Not something about Prasaga, but how will you describe Prasaga with your own words?
Yeah. So, Prasaga, I'd say, at the basis, we're the next generation of blockchain technology. We've been around since 2017, originally as an IoT and smart city company that just wanted to decentralize Internet of Things, make it so people could actually profit off the data that they were using and giving to these corporations. However, we quickly found out that there wasn't any infrastructure in place to sustain the scale that we needed for our IoT and smart city projects. So that kind of started us off on the path of actually creating our own native chain. Looking at the problems, we really tried to take a different approach. And a quote that we actually live by here at Prasaga is from Albert Einstein, and the quote goes, "You cannot solve problems using the same way of thinking that you did when you created them." And so that was kind of what we really wanted to push, was what's a new way of thinking to actually solve these problems that the rest of these layer one chains just are not solving. And so what we did is we actually eliminate smart contracts completely from the platform. We implement what's known as object-oriented programming. We built a global operating system using object-oriented programming that runs directly on top of our native consensus layer. So what this allows us to do is, first of all, the composability and complexity of processes that can now happen is night and day. It's not just simple track and trace. We don't have the problem of connecting smart contracts together and kind of getting lost in all the mess. Now with our product, with Saga Chain, and in particular smart assets, that's like our smart contracts. They're programmable microtransactions is kind of one of the best ways to think about them. But now you have full inheritance and ancestry. So you know every single part that happened from raw materials all the way to the last person that owns the product. Say it's your NFTs. You have the full kind of thread of every single person who owned and touched that NFT before you, all the way back to the creator. And that's really what we're doing. We're working to build out technology that actually solves problems and real life enterprise problems as well. There's this thing right now with crypto where all the projects and kind of the whole market it's DeFi, NFTs, and trading. No one has been able to really solve complex processes with the blockchain. I mean, IBM, just recently Maersk, the major supply chain vendor, have all completely gotten out of blockchain because they were not able to solve those complex processes. And so by taking the approach that we do and getting rid of smart contracts and really rethinking how a blockchain should operate and making it look and operate more like a Web 2 environment just running on the chain, we're seeing a lot of progress, but also traction, especially with enterprise partners who are now starting to see all the advantages and problems that we were able to solve that were not solvable with either current generation layer ones or with kind of Web 2 technologies. And so it's nice to be able to give an enterprise the immutability, the transparency, and that's something that helps businesses with consumers as well. One of the kind of big trends this year has been ESG investing. It's all about environmental sustainability and governance. Governance is a huge thing, especially now in the fall after FTX. It's all about trust. The technology didn't fail us. It was the centralized system, the centralized point of authority that failed us in SBF. Now it's time for the industry to really rebuild that trust. But that's the biggest thing is giving companies the option to have that transparency and build that trust even greater with their customers through adopting blockchain technology. And so we're really here to provide them an actual solution at the technology level. When I talk to people, I don't say I work for a crypto company. I say I work for a blockchain company because that's where it all is. It's in the underlying technology, the kind of the genius of Satoshi Nakamoto and what he created back in 2008. That's where all of this is coming from. All these coins and tokens on top, that's just something else. Kind of the market was very kind of flooded with a lot of them, and we're starting to see a correction and kind of a move forward, a move forward to where is the utility? Where are the projects that are actually solving problems? And so Prasaga is here to make sure that those projects are able to get kicked off the ground and actually go and make a difference in the world.
All right. So can we say maybe that Prasaga is more focused on the enterprise world than on the small retail people, or?
So yes and no. We're an enterprise grade chain built to make enterprises happy, but we're still a completely open, public, permissionless chain. We want to make sure that the actual retail user can take the same advantages as the enterprise. So that's one of the things we're working on now is making sure we have that good mix of more native Web3 projects that the community now is excited about and wants to be involved in. But the sustainability of the project will come from the enterprise partners that we're working with.
Okay, nice. Then we'll speak a bit about the ecosystem and everything after that. But I have a couple of questions. Now that we are talking about different layer ones and everything, on the last bull market, we've seen lots of new layer ones growing. Some of them are as useful, some of them are less useful, and we have right now a lot of them that they are trying to bring new change. So basically, if we have to compare Prasaga with the old ones, let's say like Ethereum, Avalanche, or even Solana, what can you say? How can you compare with them, or what are the advantages of Prasaga?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we actually get asked this a lot. And when we talk about competition, technically other layer one chains are a competition, but to my knowledge, and I still haven't met a chain that's taking an approach similar to ours, but we kind of break it down into two different camps. There's the smart contract centric approach, which is Ethereum, Solana, all of those smart contract platforms. And then there's what we are taking is called the account centric approach. So now everything in the system is an account that can actually be moved freely from shard to shard. And that's really where our scalability happens, and our scale via sharding is through how we're able to shard the data. So we don't actually shard the consensus, we shard the data so that the transactions can go to any shard on the network when the latency on an individual shard gets too long, without getting too technical. But so that's the biggest thing is taking that kind of different thinking and trying to come up with a new solution. And so scalability will be able to blow any of those other layer ones out of the water. Just kind of on a TPS number scale, if a node is hooked up to a 1 gigabyte network, we'll be doing a minimum of 100,000 transactions per second. If you bump that internet bandwidth up to 10 gigabytes, then you're doing at a minimum 1 million transactions per second. Mm-hmm. And so we reach a point where the only bottleneck that we have is the actual bandwidth available on the internet. So we have the ability to go up to 65,000 shards in our network on our chain. We're nowhere near the infrastructure, like physically with the internet, to actually be able to kind of accompany 65,000 shards yet. But we do this, we've built so that the scale is really, it's just the limits of what we have in the physical world. And so additionally is the way that we're looking at programming. Our programming environment will be much more similar to Web 2. Python is our programming language. A modified Python, but it's just on the back end to make it more dynamic. It still looks, tastes, and smells exactly like Python. Additionally, one of the really big kind of advancements that we made is called the class tree. And so for anyone that does have some software development kind of experience, the class tree is like living code on an individual device, a PC, a laptop, something like that. What it does, whenever you open a window or an application up, that application is just making reference calls to the code that's living on the device. Meaning when you have to create an app, you don't have to code out every single part. Say there's a button in your application on your PC. You just call class button and tell us what that button is. It's blue, it's round, and it goes here when you press it. What we've done is we've actually figured out a way to take that class tree and share it across all devices on the blockchain. So now any developer that comes in isn't going to have to start from scratch. At first, we will, as we get the foundational classes built out, those will have to be built. But as more and more developers come into the system, they're going to have an entire bank of code to call from and to use to create their applications. So that's another thing where the efficiency in how you develop, the go-to-market time exponentially grows because we simplify the actual programming experience. One of the things that when we talk about smart contracts here at Prasaga, we view smart contracts as having to code out the Word document every time you want to write a Word document. So instead of just opening up Word and typing whatever you want, with a smart contract, you first have to write Word and then you can use it. In our world, you just open up the application, all that code is running in the background and ready to be used for you to take advantage of. So I'd say that, first of all, the scalability, but second of all, the ease of use when it will come to development is the biggest advantages that we have because of the go-to-market speed, because the easier programming language with Python, which 85% of the world's devs consider their number one language. So those are some of the major things that really set us apart. And as we're continuing to finish off development and release our proofs and stuff like that, people are really starting to see it. And it's definitely a, kind of a point of discussion that I've realized recently is we ran before we could walk. We never had the proper infrastructure in place to really kind of take advantage of a Web3. You know, I've talked to many people that have said this. We tried to go too fast, too quickly. Instead, we need to make sure that proper infrastructure is in place so we can go from there. So we have an environment that is scalable, that can reach those levels of global adoption that the industry is craving so badly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's quite a lot of problems on the industry right now that if we want to scale and we want to grow, things needs to change, and that's why quite a lot of L1s are growing right now. Most of them are talking about solving the trilemma, scalability, security, etc. But the question is how all of them are they going to do it, and if they will be able to do it. Right now there's quite a lot, as I was saying, like Fire, Sui, Shardium. They want to take the same approach with the sharding on the network, or developing in parallel. Do you know something about them, or how they are going to work, which is different from Prasaga as well? Because I can understand that from the legacy chains like Ethereum, etc., you guys have some advantages, but comparing to the new ones, how are you?
So it comes back to the smart contracts, and that's kind of the thing. And it's actually computer law. Back in 1967, there was a computer scientist at IBM. His name was Dr. Amdahl, and he wanted to find where in a mainframe you could do processes in parallel and where they would serialize between the cores of the mainframe of a computer.
Mm-hmm.
When you apply that formula to blockchain, you serialize at the smart contract every time. And so this is the biggest problem with sharded chains that use a smart contract platform. That smart contract is stuck to the individual shard that it was put out on, meaning all accounts that are on that smart contract have to be on that shard. They can't be on any other shards. And so that's where the scalability really comes in. It's about our physical limitations at our hardware level. You know, until we have quantum computers and can get around our current kind of computer laws, there's no way that the smart contract will be able to scale, because they're so serialized to the individual shard. Unless someone comes out with kind of a new mechanism for scaling that isn't sharding or ZK rollups or just a legacy chain. As of now, in kind of the systems that we're working in, to us, sharding is the most practical way to achieve scale. You just have to make sure that the data is friendly to work in a sharded environment, which currently in the smart contract world, it really isn't. And additionally, it's really funny because especially with like kind of like Aptos and Sui and stuff like that, they came out with another new programming language. You know, it doesn't make sense to us why you're making a new programming language based off of, I believe, moves based off of Rust or Haskell or something like that. but why make a new programming language? You know, that's creating barriers. Devs that are in the Web 2 world and have their $200,000-$300,000 a year job doing just coding in Python or C++, JavaScript, whatever it is, they have no incentive to go learn any of these new blockchain programming languages. You know, it's still seen as like kind of a scam industry. There are a lot of scams. There's a lot of people that are just out here for money grabs. But let's make it easier for the developer. Bring those great minds in to create the amazing apps that will bring the user adoption on. That's really, at the end of the day, it's the developers that create the amazing things that build the utility for the consumer. And so that's one of the reasons that here at Prasaga, we really see the path forward being use a language people know and take a different approach to how you're building and architecting this chain. We've seen time and time again, smart contract platforms fail. You have Solana who goes down 8 times in a single year, 7 hours at a time. Prasaga could kind of argue that if you have a supply chain on your blockchain, a supply chain can't be down for 7 hours all year, let alone 8 different times during the year, you know? And so these are the problems we're seeing. We're not seeing that great adoption in blockchain. It's getting more, but we're getting to the point where the only people that are going to come in and use it are people that are younger. As I like to say, my aunt and uncle have no interest in DeFi. They will never get a MetaMask and open up a Uniswap account. You know, if they had an app that came to them and actually provided them value. And one of the stories our CEO says, and kind of why we're targeting enterprise, actually goes back to the adoption of the internet and kind of Web 2.0 and Web 1.0. Well, the internet really didn't become big until enterprise jumped on and started to use it. And our CEO likes to talk about the banks. In early 2000s and like 99, early 2000s, no consumer was going to the bank and being like, hey, I want to do online banking. I want to do banking over the internet. It was the banks that came up with this technology. They found a use case, say it be online banking, so you can send transfers, you can check your balances, do all this stuff that you used to have to do manually, where you'd have to go into the bank to get your bank statement so you could balance your checkbook and such. They brought this technology to us. They said, here, put your name and a password and your account number. Now you have all the information about your account. You can also send money now, wire money to people directly from the internet. That came along, and now every single person in the world has their banking information, not only on their computer, but their phone as well in an app. And so that's our thinking with enterprises. The enterprises know what the consumers want. And the enterprises are also a big trusted brand. You may not like your bank, but you trust your bank. You hold all your money there. So if we can get enterprises on board to start adopting the technology and creating these user applications that just are given to the consumer without them even knowing it's a blockchain, that's how we win, and that's how global adoption happens. We need to get to a place where we are today, where it's just technology that we use. No one asks the questions about how the internet works anymore. They just kind of take it for fact. And that's really the point in blockchain we need to reach in order to get that full global adoption.
Yeah, but I understand what you mean, and I understand what you mentioned about before about Aptos using a new languages, etc. But even with that, they are achieving quite a lot of adoption. A lot of developers entering their ecosystem, Sui as well, a lot of projects entering there. It's true that not big enterprises or institutional, they are not entering there. So I guess that's one of the reasons why you are focusing there as well. But having that in mind, how is looking the ecosystem for Prasaga? Do you have already some partnerships, some enterprises already working with you guys, or what are the plans regarding that? Are you onboarding a lot of companies or individuals?
Yeah, so we're in the process of onboarding 6 different projects, more native Web3 projects. We were a part of the Consensus Hackathon last June at Consensus in Austin, Texas, and we had 3 winners from that hackathon. One was a animal tracking company called Forever Found. They're using NFTs and microchips to help track stray pets in the US, and also find homeless pets homes. The second is called Hataya, which is like a healthcare app. And they're kind of a one-stop shop for all things healthcare, getting your HIPAA records, setting doctor's appointments, anything that has to do with your healthcare, making sure that your PPO providers, you choose the right PPO provider in order that matches with your insurance, whatever it may be. And then the third one is a company called Holy Gloss. Holy Gloss is actually an established natural beauty products brand, and they're looking to build out their NFT loyalty rewards program on us. So very similar to like what a lot of brands are doing right now, where you hold an NFT and you get to get certain perks for being in their loyalty program. So those are the 3 that we're working with from the hackathon. Additionally, we have signed 3 just MOUs, some agreements with some other projects. The first one is called Telebionics, which is actually a medical device company. They make blood sugar readers for diabetics. They're going to be building out their entire supply chain on us, and addition their data network. So the data that's transferred from the devices to all the different like users, that's all going to be built on Saga Chain. Next is a company called Animal Cloud, and Animal Cloud is actually a Department of Defense funded project here in the US, but they do in-depth tracking and analysis of military service animals. And they're also looking to branch out into the civilian realm as well with tracking animals. And so they're going to be building their kind of data network on Saga Chain as well. And then the 6th one is a company called My Data. My Data is kind of a data marketplace where you'll be able to silo the data that you're using and then either rent or lease it on the data marketplace. So compared to the other ones out there right now, where you just sell your data once and profit off of it once, what My Data is doing is making sure that you have a kind of recurring revenue or profits off of your data by being able to just rent or lease your data out to a company for a certain amount of time, let them run their analytics on it, and then that data goes back to you to rent out or lease again. So it's more of a recurring revenue stream compared to just a one and done. And so that's the current ecosystem we have built. We are talking to a few enterprise players, especially on entertainment around payroll compliance, rights management, and royalties. And that's a partnership that we will be able to announce pretty soon, but still kind of just finalizing the agreement right now. And so we're really continuing to speak to new projects and also a couple different enterprise players on supply chain side as well. But what Prasaga is looking to do is really push the envelope on what is considered Web3. As you see in there, we don't have any DeFi projects, we don't have an NFT marketplace. We, of course, will have them. We are talking to a few different DeFi projects and NFT marketplaces, but we want to start including real life companies and businesses and allowing people to really push what is considered Web3. We have a lot of animal tracking. We have a data marketplace. We actually have a supply chain being built on us where you can get valuable information out of it rather than a simple track and trace to know when a part got to a new place. So that's really what we've been very hard. This has all happened in, I'd say, the past 3 months as well. So that's really what we've been focused on now as we ramp up for our testnet and then listing later this year. We're really looking to make sure that we have an ecosystem that is different than any other layer ones. We don't want to just be the next DeFi layer one chain. which is another kind of thing that's interesting, is the direction layer ones have gone in terms of kind of niches, where you have, oh, we're a trading layer one, or we're a metaverse layer one. We need a foundational infrastructure that anything and everything can work and live on before we start to kind of niche out these avenues. You know, the Web3 should look like Web2 at some point, where it's all encompassing and has all sorts of different businesses and enterprise solutions on top of it.
Yeah, but in order to build this big ecosystem, this big infrastructure of companies using Saga Chain, I mean, you will have to market yourselves somehow. I mean, how are you planning to attract more companies or more individuals who wants to build on Saga Chain? What's the marketing strategy for that?
So we have been doing kind of a lot of our internal marketing. One of the big things we have coming up is actually the different consortiums and standards bodies that we're a part of. So we are a part of a group called the Digital Twin Consortium, which is, it's 300 of the top 500 enterprises, or the Fortune 500 enterprises, that come together and will form working groups with multiple different companies to try and solve a problem that is industry-wide. And so our CEO and our CTO, both of our co-founders, have been a part of these standards bodies and consortiums for 2 decades plus. So what we're setting up there is test beds. So we will work with a few different companies as we are setting that up. And once we do know the companies we're working with, that will be a lot of what the push is on the marketing side, at least. But right now we're working to set up a test bed where first is figuring out what the problem is that they want solved. Second is introducing them to Saga Chain and the technology. And then third is working with those enterprise partners to come up with a solution using our technology. And so as an open source software, this is something that anyone, any enterprise, any person will be able to use and take advantage of. And so we're focusing on, you know, we don't believe in the partnerships of where you just go and pay someone to get your logo put on their website. Our partnerships are working hand in hand with these partners in order to come up with the solutions that they're facing using brand new kind of innovative technologies. And so that's especially on the enterprise side, that's a very big marketing push that we're in the middle of. We're working right now to get those test groups set up. But we are also kind of on a more hype building side of things. We are starting to work with kind of some learn to earn companies. Galaxy is one that we're looking to work with to create some campaigns to really drive the education, the hype around Saga Chain and Prasaga Foundation, and really kind of finding ways that we can push it and get our name out there and really become one of those chains that is looked at with the big guys. As we continue to prove it technologically, as we're continuing to finish off dev and get closer to having our main chain, we're continuing to show that we're doing exactly what we said we would be able to do. And now enterprises are really starting to take notice, additionally, as well as other projects too.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I understand. Yeah, you will be basing more kind of marketing with on partnerships than hiring influencers, let's say. Yeah, like other companies are doing. Yeah, which I think it's wise, because you are not targeting the retail people, you are targeting companies. So yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you for that. It was a good explanation and a good overview for everyone. As you may know, I mean, the hype is growing around Prasaga. We are approaching more, or every time more, the listing time, as you were mentioning before. So maybe we can speak a bit about that. What will happen once you launch? The users who are investors on pre-sales, or people who wants to invest just when you launch. they will have any kind of staking program, any benefit, they can become any kind of validators? How will it look for them?
Yeah, so we actually we're expecting to launch. We're looking for public testnet in about May timeframe. That's when we hope to kind of have all the nodes, the software downloaded by the node operators, and link them together to get a global network. We actually have our private round now is to become one of those node operators during testnet. And so the testnet will be made up of 1,000 different nodes that have come in on this round, to ensure that we, do a proper testnet. We're not just setting up 2 servers in the same data center and saying we ran a testnet. We want to make sure that this thing is truly tested to make sure that it's secure, it's fast, it's scalable, it's everything that we said it was. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. What was the rest of the question?
No, when
on launch.
Yeah.
So for the testnet, just the kind of validator, people that came into the validator sale will be able to take advantage of the staking and mining and the consensus, or the node operator benefits. Once we reach mainnet, anyone will be able to come in. And that's one of the really cool things about our consensus is we're actually POS, POW. So we are a hybrid system. So you have to stake. If you want to come and be a node operator, you do have to stake, but you also have the option and the ability to mine and become a miner. With the way that we've designed our consensus, instead of competing against everyone else in the network when you mine a block, you're only competing against the miners on your shard. So we're looking at between 128 to 256 nodes per shard. So the competition, the opportunity to actually win blocks through mining is greatly increased. And to the point where you'll be able to win with CPU. CPU, GPU, or ASICs are kind of the tech requirements when it comes to mining. But the competition is, or the opportunity is so great that everyone will get a piece of the pie. And so that's kind of where we're looking to. May is when we really want to, is our goal for launching our testnet. It really depends on how long the testing goes before we're certain and kind of confident that we can go to listing. But we're looking for maybe a July, August timeframe for listing. As soon as we know, first of all, to make sure the market's not in the absolute dumps. If we're around here, or even if we dipped a little bit, but as long as we're plateauing and not continually going down, we will look to list the coin. But we want to make sure that we have as successful of a listing as possible. And so that's what here we kind of talk about. Launch and listing is 2 different things. Launch will be actually the launch of the product, the testnet, letting the people that have come in on the node operator round start to download their software, run the nodes, start to get the hang of the procedure and everything. And then as soon as we know that technically we're sound, and as long as the market is in semi good shape, we're going to look to list the coins, be that July or August, sometime this summer.
All right, so testnet around May and listing June, July, August, summer.
Yep.
All right, and where? That's the question. Where will you listing? Do you have something already, or you can tell us something?
So we've been approved at 3 different exchanges. We have not signed agreements yet. As you know, the kind of conversation around centralized exchanges and some of the due diligence has greatly changed in the past 3 months since November and the whole FTX debacle. But we do have 3 that we have been kind of pre-approved for. That'd be Gate.io and Bitmart and MEXC. And we are working with a firm that really helps with listing strategies, introductions, help with pricing on listing fees and stuff like that. And so we will be leaning on them a lot for their expertise. But additionally, and we're getting these agreements signed next week, we will partner with GSRs, our market makers, and so we will rely on GSR as well to make those introductions to exchanges, make sure that we're on the right exchange. We don't want to just list on a ton of exchanges, spread out all the liquidity and make it harder for the project to succeed. So that's something, we here at Prasaga, we know that we don't know everything, and that's the key is relying on this kind of expertise in the field to make sure that we're making the proper decisions. GSR is a very reputable company that has done
it's
a lot
one of the big dogs on the industry. So
exactly. So that's it's very important that we are partnering with the best of the best in the industry to make sure that all of our I's are dotted and T's are crossed, and we can make sure that we have a successful launch and listing with this coin.
Nice. Yeah, you said you gave us more information that what I was expecting regarding the launch. So thank you for that.
Of course.
All right, so I guess we have a good overview on everything. I don't have any other question, but feel free. Let me know if you have anything else you want to share with us.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, if you guys know of any projects that are looking for a chain or maybe not happy with their current chain, we would really love to have a talk with them to see if Saga Chain is something that could actually, provide some value and give them some new kind of avenues that weren't apparent before. We would definitely love to have any conversations with any projects or kind of companies, that are looking to kind of get into the blockchain world.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll speak around in the community, and of course we'll let you know.
Perfect.
All right. So thanks a lot, Jacob. For sure, the community will be very happy with all these answers, and well, we hope you a lot of luck with the launch and with the testnet and everything. And yeah, let us know if you need anything from us, and good luck.
Thanks, Jose. I really appreciate your time today, man.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good weekend.